Jack Spade back here with you, High Noon Leatherworks, for another leather adventure. And today I'm going to show you how I antique or wear new leather quickly to make it look like it's been worn for a while. I use it on holsters, belts, all kinds of things where people want it to look older for like Western dress or battle worn type things. So I'll show you how I do that, and I'll show you an example of one that I finished. So come on in and let's get started. Alright, so I've got the overhead cam on, and kind of gives you a straight down shot of what's going on. So what I've done is I've got an example here of how I do this. I've got a holster that I've made for a battle, they call it a battle worn pistol, or they take Cerakote and they put it on there, and it makes it look old, or it makes it look like it's been used even though it's a brand new gun. So I've kind of taken that technique and moved it over to the leather, and thinking that there's maybe a few people that have that type of pistol that would want a holster to match, instead of putting all that money into a Cerakote job on a gun and then end up putting it in a brand new shiny holster. So this is what I come up with. It worked really well. It looks good. It looks like it's been worn. I've tried to put the worn areas in the areas that would actually be worn or rubbing up against a jacket, or your hand moving up and down while pulling the pistol. So that's the finished look. And how I got there was I took my dyed leather, and this is the exact same leather that I made this holster with. So it gives you an idea of what I started out with. And started with some Fiebing's leather sheen. And I just take that and put it on a clean cloth. Can't use paper towel because the paper will actually rub off on the leather. So this is like one of those shop towel, throwaway shop towel type things. And I like white because then it doesn't have any dye in it. And I just put a little bit of that sheen on that cloth, and then I'm going to rub that into the finished side of that dyed leather. Now that's been dyed and dried. It's totally dry. And I'll just work that in. Set that aside, put my cap back on. And then I take a microfiber cloth, and you can see I use this one for buffing all different colors of dye or leather. But I'll take my microfiber cloth, I'll let that sit for just a second, and then I buff it with that microfiber cloth. And that not only dries that, but it also gives it that little sheen or shine that it didn't have before. There's flat side, and there's the sheen side. So it just gives it enough to make it look like it's finished. Now, once you've done that, then you can go ahead and there's two ways you can do this. And I'm going to fold this over a little bit so I can use this edge so I can show you. But you could use a sanding block, and if you do use a sanding block, I'd go lightly on it because you can really get into the leather and you don't want to do that. You just want to hit the top edge of it. So you could use a sanding block, but just be careful. Go easy. I like these coarse Scotch-Brite pads. You could buy the green ones, but these red ones, these rust-colored ones, are a lot coarser than the green ones are. So you can take that Scotch-Brite pad and just wherever you want, and you want to try to make it look natural. So like I did on the holster, I picked all my raised areas. So anything that was raised, that's kind of what I was concentrating on. You don't want to do the whole entire surface or then it won't look natural. So you can work on this again. Be careful. Take small doses of it and work at it and check your work. Work at it. Look at it again. And concentrate on those little higher ridges so that it does look natural. And what I'm trying to do here is do a light worn, a medium worn, and then a heavy worn area to show you. So it's a lot has to do with pressure, how much pressure you're putting on it. But there you can see down here is where I put more pressure, so it's a little heavier worn area. Here, more medium, and then up here, real light. So if I open that up to show you the sheen that I put on, that Scotch-Brite pad not only makes it look worn, like it's older, but then it takes that sheen off of there. Now, here's what I like to do after I do that, so that it doesn't look like I've just taken that top layer off. I'll take my rag that I had my sheen on and I'll hit that area take my microfiber towel and it gives it a little bit of sheen again, not as much as the rest of it, but it makes it look like it's been rubbing on something. So it's gotten wear right there where it folded over. And that's what I attempted to do on the holster. On the raised edges where it would be naturally rubbing, that's where I concentrated making the worn finish look. So it's not difficult, but again, and this is just trial and error that I've done, but be careful on the sanding block, and I'll show you why I say that. Let me show you real quick. I'll bend this over in a different spot so I can show you the comparison of the two. And you notice I'm just hitting it lightly, and I only hit it 2 or 3 times, and you can already see the difference. Here's the one I did with the Scotch-Brite, and here's the one I did with the sanding block. So you can definitely see the difference. So you kind of have to be careful with that sanding block that you don't go too far too fast. That's the thing. It's like you can control more of how deep you're going, but if you go too fast without checking your work or go too far, there's no turning back unless you want to buff all that out and maybe re-dye it and start over. But especially if you have all the work and the time hand stitching and everything in a holster like this, obviously wet forming, you don't want to mess that up when you have that much time involved in that. So just caution, be careful when you're trying to age new leather. I prefer to go with the Scotch-Brite so that I can go easy, and I can always come back. If I don't care much for it, I can always come back and hit it more. There I hit it again right after I put the second coat of sheen on, and you can see it even looks better. So you don't have to do it all in one step. I mean, you can do a little bit, hey, you don't like it, come back and do a little bit more. All right, so that gives you an idea of how I make my new finished leather projects look like they're older or they've been worn. It seems to be a big trend right now, especially with ARs and handguns, that people are having those Cerakoted with that battle-worn finish. So, and that's just one thing. You could do handbags, you could do wallets, you could do like all the reenactment things, that medieval reenactment, Western reenactment. Those people kind of like that stuff to look worn and not brand new. So that's just another choice that you could give someone when you're making something for them. So I appreciate you coming along. I hope this was helpful. And please, like I always say, like, share, and subscribe. And I'll see you next time.